The method I think I use the most, is particularly for salads, is bone-in, skin-on chicken breasts. And I'm just gonna show you how I do it. Olive oil, salt and pepper. It's as easy as that. So, olive oil, salt and pepper. Lots of pepper. You want it to have lots of flavor. In the oven, 350 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes, and it comes out perfectly every time. First, I've got the chicken, but in the same oven, I've cooked some bacon. And still in the same oven, I roasted some nuts. It's actually walnuts, cashews, and almonds. And I just roasted them for like 10 minutes. It really brings out the flavor. Okay, those are the components. Now we're gonna make the vinaigrette. So the first thing is olive oil. I need 2/3 of a cup of olive oil, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Next thing is mustard. Give it a little heat. I love to add mustard to vinaigrette because it emulsifies it. 2 teaspoons of honey. Just a little bit of sweetness is nice. And then 1½ teaspoons of salt. Want to have lots of flavor. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Give it a whisk. And that's the vinaigrette. I just kind of, with my hands, just do large shreds of chicken. The next thing is bacon. It's nice and cool now, and I'm just gonna dice it up. And next, I've got all kinds of lettuces to put in. I've got kale and frisee. Got them all washed and dried. And you want to be sure to spin dry them really well, because if they're wet, the vinaigrette won't stick to it. And the next thing is spinach. And I use baby spinach leaves. Just put it all in. Classic Waldorf salad has grapes, but I'm using raisins instead. Just about 1/2 cup. Okay, next is cheese. It's a really good sharp cheddar, about 1 cup. Next, the bacon and the chicken. Nice crisp red apple. If you're gonna make this a little in advance, do the apple last because you don't want it to turn brown. Okay, now of course, we need salt and pepper and the vinaigrette. One last ingredient, soft-boiled eggs. I'm just gonna cut them in quarters, and while I do, I'm gonna show you how I made them. I put 4 extra large eggs into a medium saucepan and covered them with tap water. Brought it to a full boil, then immediately turned off the heat. I let them sit in the water for exactly 4 minutes. Then I put them into a bowl of cold tap water for 2 minutes to cool. I like to put the eggs on top. I don't want to mix them in too much because you don't want them messed up. So I've got 2 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes peeled, and I've got these huge leeks. I need about 4 cups of diced leeks. Okay, onto a roasting pan, the potatoes and the leeks. Okay, olive oil. Can't roast without olive oil. Good olive oil. I use California olive oil. Okay, lots of salt and pepper. Make sure it has great flavor. I'm gonna roast this at 400 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes, just until the potatoes are really nice and tender. And then I'm gonna add some arugula. After it's roasted for 40 to 45 minutes, I'm gonna add about 3 cups of arugula. It's got a really nice peppery flavor. I'm gonna put it back in the oven for 5 minutes until the arugula just wilts, and it just adds that extra depth of flavor that I'm looking for. So what I've done is I've roasted the potatoes and the leeks, bring out the flavor in them. Just thrown in some arugula at the last minute, just enough to wilt it. Now what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of white wine, about 1/2 cup, to the pan, just to scrape off all those brown bits that give a sauce so much flavor, and I'm gonna make sure it gives the soup lots of flavor. And it gets absorbed in the potato. I'm just gonna give it lots of great flavor. Okay, that's all done. So I'm just gonna take it and put it in the food processor. What I'm looking for is a soup that's smooth but has some texture. So I'm just gonna pour about half in. I'll have to do it in 2 batches. These vegetables smell fantastic. So I'm just going to add some chicken stock. I'm going to use about 5 cups total, just enough to blend this. I want it coarse but chunky. Fantastic. Okay, so that's the puree. Now I'm going to make it into soup. Just turn it on low heat. I'm going to add a little more chicken stock. It's about 5 cups total, but just enough until it's the right consistency. You want it thick, but not, you don't want it to taste like a vegetable. You want it to taste like soup. So just whisk it in. This is pretty thick. A lot depends on how much starch is in the potatoes. I'm going to add a little cream. And since it's a French soup, I'm going to add a little creme fraiche. So about 3/4 of a cup of cream, just to give it a nice richness. And then 8 ounces of creme fraiche, which gives it a little sour, sort of tart flavor. This is going to be wonderful. I thought it'd be great to contrast the texture of the creamy soup with something crispy like these crispy shallots. Here's how you do them. Just add 1½ cups of light olive oil to a saucepan with 3 tablespoons of butter. Put in a thermometer and turn the heat on medium-low. Meantime, slice 6 shallots in thin rings. You want crispy? You've got to have thin rings. When the oil and butter reach 220 degrees, you're all ready. So turn the heat to low and add the shallots. They'll take about 30 to 40 minutes to cook. Keep the temperature below 260 degrees so they don't burn. When they're golden brown, take them out with a slotted spoon and spread them onto paper towels to dry. Then the soup gets ladled into bowls, and the finishing touches, extra Parmesan cheese and those fabulous crispy shallots. It's so beautiful and no airbrushing needed. I love grilling, but it's not always that easy. You really have to pay attention to what's on the grill. So I like to do side dishes that are really easy to do and I can make in advance, like a big green salad with blue cheese dressing. How bad could that be? So I'm going to start with the dressing. I've got good Roquefort. What I'm doing is a classic dish, but I'm going to turn up the volume on every single flavor in the dish. Instead of regular blue cheese, I'm using French Roquefort. So I need about 1/4 pound of Roquefort. Just goes right in the food processor. That's good enough right there. 1/3 cup of cream. 2 teaspoons of tarragon vinegar. Not regular white vinegar, good tarragon vinegar. Cup of mayonnaise. So I can make this dressing in advance, get the lettuce ready, and then when everything's off the grill, it's ready to go. About a cup. None of this has to be exact. Okay, that should be about right. Lots of salt and pepper. It's a dressing, so you want it really well seasoned. Pepper. And just whir it up in the food processor. That's it. Okay, that's the dressing next to the salad. You know, usually it was done with like iceberg lettuce, which has no flavor at all. So I'm going to turn up the volume and use really good lettuce. Just curly lettuce like this, or romaine, something like that. These are from my garden. They're really just beautiful, but you can get good lettuce in the store. The key is to make sure they're really dry, and then the dressing really sticks to it. These are really big. I can't fit them into the spin dryer, so I'm going to make one. Just take a clean white kitchen towel, just put them right in the middle. Pull the corners up, just like this, and you've made yourself a spin dryer. Just steer clear. And it gets all the water out, and then the dressing really sticks to it. You feel crazy, but it works. Okay. Nice, gorgeous, dry lettuce. So instead of pulling all the leaves off, I'm actually going to do this. I'm just going to cut them in half. Let's see which one. I like the curly one, so I'm going to start with that. Just take the bottom of this off. And just cut the whole thing in half. Make sure it's nice and clean. And just put a big piece of lettuce on the plate. I mean, how simple is that? And now you've got to have tomatoes, but not just ordinary tomatoes. I'm going to pick really gorgeous heirloom tomatoes. Just a couple of big, thick slices. Yeah, okay. I always like to use a serrated knife for cutting tomatoes. I think they're easiest. You want something that has great flavor. So I'm going to do like 2 slices of tomato. And then because I have all these gorgeous little tomatoes that are so wonderful, I'm just going to cut them in half. They all don't have to be the same size. I actually like when they're not the same size. This looks like a very big salad for one. Might be for 2. Just little tomatoes. This is one of my favorites, called green zebra, appropriately named. And even when it's ripe, it's green, and it's so delicious. All these little, aren't they just gorgeous? Look how lovely they are inside. And all I need is dressing, and I've got the perfect side dish for a grill. This big drizzle of blue cheese dressing. And of course, to give it even more flavor, crumble of more cheese, a little bit of blue cheese on it. I mean, does this look good or what? I can guarantee you I'll be serving this at my next grilling party. Yellow tomatoes and blue cheese dressing. Who would want anything else? So good. It's Jeffrey and my 40th wedding anniversary. I can't believe it. And I thought for a main course, it'd be really nice to have Italian wedding soup. Big steaming bowls of soup with fresh spinach and chicken meatballs. And since it involves chicken, we do know about Jeffrey and chicken. So the first thing I'm going to do is make the meatballs. So I have 6 ounces of ground chicken and 4 ounces of ground chicken sausage. It's actually, the sausage is out of the casings. It's a great combination. The chicken's sort of sweet, and the sausage is a little spicy. The great thing about these meatballs is they're baked. I don't have to stand there and roll them around in butter and oil. I just make them all, put them in the oven, and they're done. And they have so much flavor. Okay, so I need about 1/3 of a cup of fresh breadcrumbs. I'm gonna just cut off the crusts. Give it a buzz in the food processor. So that's 1/3 of a cup of fresh breadcrumbs. This is actually better than dry breadcrumbs that you can get in a can, because it'll make the meatballs softer. That should do it. Okay, next, garlic. It's 1 big clove of garlic. Italian wedding soup is this wonderful chicken stock-based soup. It's just delicious. I think Jeffrey will love it. Fantastic. Right into the meatballs. And I love fresh herbs, so I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley. Just chop it up. I actually use parsley in a lot. I think it's got a great flavor. What I don't use it for is garnish. Okay, that's about 1½ tablespoons. Okay, next for some good cheese. So I want 2 tablespoons of pecorino, which is a really sharp Italian cheese. I'm just going to grate it. And the next one is, just to combine the flavors and get the best of all of it, is 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan. I use Reggiano, but if you want to use Grana Padano, it's not technically Parmesan, but it has just the same flavor. And it's quite a bit less expensive. Okay, that should do it. This is going to be good. Chicken, sausage, Parmesan. How bad can these meatballs be? Okay, now I'm just going to add an egg to bind it all together. Beat it up, pour it in. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Just give it a stir. Okay, I'm ready to make the meatballs. Just around 1 teaspoon, and that makes the perfect size meatball. And I'm gonna bake these. Nobody needs to stand over the stove and fry them. How great is that? Jeffrey's got so much work to do. He's stuck at his desk, but at least I know I'll have a good dinner tonight. Okay, these are gonna go into the oven, 350 degrees for 30 minutes, and I'm gonna start working on the soup. So while the meatballs bake, I'm gonna make the soup, make the stock. So I always like to have lots of flavor in the stock, and the best way to get that is to just saute some vegetables first before I put the chicken stock in. Just about 1/2 cup of chopped onion. I have to say, Jeffrey and I like very quiet birthdays and anniversaries. We like to keep it very low key. A nice dinner is exactly what we like. And neither of us like surprises. So I've got a little olive oil in here. Let's do some chopped onion and some chopped celery. One stalk. Some tears from the onions, all part of the charm. and 1 carrot. People always say, what's the secret to a good marriage? I don't know. I would hate to have a marriage where you have to work at it. That's what you're supposed to do. We just have a good time together. He wants me to be happy. I want him to be happy. It's so simple. Okay, 1 very large carrot. Just give it a stir. That's going to cook for about 8 to 10 minutes until the vegetables are really tender and flavorful. Then I'm going to finish the soup and make some Campari spritzers so we can really celebrate our anniversary. So I've got the vegetables have been sauteing and they're really soft and flavorful. Now I'm going to add 5 cups of chicken stock. So this is the base for the Italian wedding soup. And later I'm going to put the chicken meatballs in. I really do like homemade chicken stock. If you don't have it, you can use good canned chicken stock, but this makes all the difference in the world. And I like to add 1/4 cup of white wine. Just gives it real depth of flavor. The alcohol's going to burn off. Jeffrey's working so hard, but he's the smartest guy I know. I think that's why it works so well, because I'm the practical one in the relationship. And I do remember a time when I left him home alone and he ran his computer over with his car. You don't even want to know how that happened. This smells wonderful. Now what I'm going to do is add 1/2 cup of pasta. Just a very small pasta, tubatini or stars. And what that's going to do is it's going to puff up in this, but it's also going to thicken it. The starch in the pasta. It's going to thicken the soup. Just let that cook for about 6 to 8 minutes. Okay, the next part of this Italian wedding soup is putting the meatballs in. So they've come out of the oven. I'm just going to put them right in. I love this. It's a really hearty soup. It's really great for a main course. Fantastic. So the chicken and sausage and Parmesan right in. Okay, next thing is a little fresh dill. I love the fresh herb flavor. You know, the soup has a very complex flavor, but there's nothing you can't find in a grocery store. It's a handful of fresh dill. Just stir it in. And then the last ingredient is spinach, and you're not going to believe how much it is, but it's going to cook down in a second. So I've got a big pile of baby spinach leaves, all washed and clean. It's going to look like it's going to fill the pot, but in 2 seconds, it's going to cook down into the soup. So isn't this interesting? It's chicken meatballs and fresh spinach and all kinds of vegetables. 2 bowls of Italian wedding soup coming up. This is my idea of a perfect anniversary. Quiet, cozy, just the 2 of us. A little bit of fresh Parmesan on top. Give it a little extra bite. It is Italian after all. Now, who wouldn't want this for dinner? I'm going to start the dinner tonight, my French bistro dinner, with a nice warm butternut squash salad. The kind of salad that you might find in a classic bistro in France, but with the volume turned up. It's got cold arugula, warm butternut squash, and a maple drizzle on it. It's so delicious. So I'm starting with 1.5 pounds of butternut squash. I've peeled it, just taken out the seeds, and then I'm just going to cut it in big chunks. Just right onto a sheet pan. I do everything on a half sheet pan. Big drizzle of olive oil, about 2 tablespoons. About 1 tablespoon of good maple syrup. Use the real thing, makes a difference. Lots of salt and pepper. Clean hands. Just toss it all together. So I'm going to bake at 450 degrees for 15 minutes. It's going to be nice and brown. Then I'm going to turn it with a spatula. Add some cranberries for the last 5 minutes. They get nice and plump, and it really brings out their flavor. Okay, into the oven. So the next thing I'm going to make for the salad is a warm vinaigrette, which is a little unusual. Most vinaigrettes are cold. But what I'm going to do is reduce it, really intensify the flavors, and the warm vinaigrette really gets into the butternut squash. It's delicious. First thing I'm going to use is 3/4 cup of apple cider. You can use apple juice, but apple cider, if you can find it, is even better. And to give it a little bit of a vinegary edge, since it's a vinaigrette, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. It's sort of the sweet and sour thing at the same time. And then 2 tablespoons of shallots. So I'm just going to let that reduce. It'll take about 6 or 8 minutes until it's really concentrated. The flavors are really melded together. In the meantime, I'm going to go turn the butternut squash. I love the smell of butternut squash. So it's about half done, and I just want to turn it so it browns evenly on all sides. I want to make sure it's in one layer so it browns evenly. Into the oven. That's going to take about another 10 minutes. So the vinaigrette's reduced. Oh, that looks nice. It's really concentrated flavor. So now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of mustard. And what that's going to do is make an emulsion out of the vinaigrette. Half a cup of olive oil. And just whisk it in. Off the heat. About half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and just whisk it all together. When Jeffrey and I were first married, we took a 4-month camping trip in France. We've always loved French food since then. Really simple bistro food. I think he's gonna love this dinner. I'm gonna add cranberries to the butternut squash, just about 3 tablespoons in the last 5 minutes of cooking. Really brings out their flavor and plumps them up. Time to assemble the salad. So the first thing I have is 4 ounces of arugula. It's gorgeous baby arugula. And I love it because it's got a nice peppery flavor. And it's great with the butternut squash. As soon as the butternut squash is done, I'm gonna put that on top. But first, I'm gonna grate some Parmesan cheese. I always use Reggiano Parmesan. Usually when I grate Parmesan, I grate it in a food processor with a steel blade. So it's sort of ground, not grated. But for this salad, I think big grates would be just terrific. That should do it. I think the butternut squash should be just ready. How gorgeous that looks. Isn't that wonderful? So I'm just going to take the warm butternut squash, put it right on top of the arugula. It'll wilt the arugula, which is perfect. Okay, next I'm going to put some walnuts, about a half a cup of toasted walnuts. I dry roasted them in a pan. Really brings out the walnut flavor. And lots of the grated Parmesan cheese, 3/4 of a cup. And the warm vinaigrette, it's sweet and it's sour from the vinegar. Just pour it all over. And just toss it all together, the spinach and butternut squash. It's got such great flavors, great autumnal looking salad. I would say that's gonna be perfect for Jeffrey's dinner. Now, all we need is a glass of champagne. Jeffrey's gonna think we're in a bistro in Paris, right there on our side porch. Can't make good chicken noodle soup without good homemade chicken stock. Fortunately, I had 2 quarts in the freezer. So I'm gonna heat that up. I'm gonna put in 1 cup of chopped carrots right into the chicken stock. 1 cup of chopped celery. And 2 cups of noodles. I just use regular egg noodles. You can probably use any kind of pasta, but this chicken noodle soup has to be egg noodles. 2 cups, right in. Give it a big stir. This is gonna cook for about 10 minutes. And actually it's nice because the starch in the noodles is gonna get into the soup. It gives it a little body, which is great. And then I need to add chicken. And I just cook the chicken exactly the way I usually do. I take 2 chicken breasts, bone in, skin on, put them on a sheet pan, rub them with olive oil, sprinkle with lots of salt and pepper, and roast them at 350 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes. I mean, that's it. So I'm just gonna take the skin off, and then with a knife, just cut around the bone. So all I really want is the meat. You can really just peel it off with your hands if you want to. And because you're gonna dice it or shred it, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. You just need large pieces of chicken. It's amazing how the olive oil and the skin and the seasoning really gets into the chicken, and it keeps it absolutely delicious. So much more flavorful than boiling it, which I think takes all the flavor out of the chicken. And you can either shred it like this, or you can dice it, but this time I feel like dicing it. So just nice big bite-sized pieces. This looks so wonderful. It's so moist this way. And that's what I want from Miguel's chicken noodle soup. You can use dark meat for this, but it's sort of more traditional to use white meat. Big dice. Perfect. Okay, let's see how the soup is doing. It's just 10 minutes. It smells fantastic. Oh, how good does that look? Wow. Okay, chicken in, little parsley, and it's almost done. So if you've got chicken stock in the refrigerator or the freezer, this is really fast to do. Quarter cup of parsley. It's always good to have a fresh herb in there. Just really brings out the flavor. Makes the whole thing taste really fresh. You can do dill if you like dill, whatever you have around. Nothing too strong though, not rosemary. Into the pot. This is a really good chicken noodle soup. So depending on how salty or peppery the stock is, I'm gonna add some more seasoning, but first I have to taste it. This is a tough job. Oh, it's so good. It's got so much chicken flavor. It needs a little more salt. The strange thing about chicken soup is it can taste like dirty dishwater, or it can taste like really delicious chicken soup, and salt is the only ingredient that's different. Okay, one more taste. That is so delicious. I love assembled salads. It's a whole meal in one dish. And one of my favorites is a roasted chicken Cobb salad. And it starts with bacon. How bad could that be, right? So I've cooked the bacon 350 degrees on this sheet pan, so all the fat drains off, which is great. I cooked it for about 20 to 25 minutes, so I'm gonna let that cool. In the meantime, I've got all these other ingredients. The first one's Stilton, which is English blue cheese. And I'll show you how I like to cut this up. I just cut off the rind. A lot of people like to crumble Stilton into a salad, but I think it just makes everything look messy. So what I like to do is, as much as possible, cube it. So I'm just gonna prep all the ingredients, and then just before serving, put it all together. See, like big pieces are much better. I've cut up Hass avocados, big dice, because when I do an assembled salad, I want everything to be really clear. And I mix it with a little lemon juice, just to keep it bright green. Okay, that's perfect. I've got arugula that I washed and spun dry. It's got that really nice peppery flavor. It'll be really good in this. And I've got cherry tomatoes. And actually, I always cut the cherry tomatoes through the stem. I just think that looks nicest when you cut it open. Okay, next thing's the chicken. I roasted 2 chicken breasts. I slathered them with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and just roasted them 350 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes, just until they're done. And then it's really important to let them rest. All the juices get back into the meat. A long time ago, I tested boiling chicken for chicken salad as opposed to roasting, and the roasting was so much better. So just take off the skin. Now I'm gonna take my knife and just run it right between the meat and the bones in a big piece, but it doesn't all have to come off at once, and then just pull it apart. I don't like lots of little pieces, so make big chunks, or you can shred it. Sometimes shredding is nice because it really absorbs the vinaigrette well. Okay, that's the chicken. So the bacon's cool now. I can cut it in big pieces. Big pieces. It's nice and crisp. Okay, that's the bacon. Now I'm gonna make the vinaigrette. So that's a quarter of a cup of lemon juice. I'm gonna add 5 tablespoons of olive oil. Okay, and then Dijon mustard, what it does is emulsify it and flavor it at the same time. So 1.5 tablespoons. It's gonna have lots of flavor. Some salt, about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and just whisk it all together. First, I'll start with the diced chicken, then the tomatoes, lots of salt, pepper, enough dressing to just moisten it, and I'll toss it all together. Next, the avocados, diced bacon, Stilton, the arugula on top, a little more dressing, a gentle toss, and it's done. That's so cool. How delicious does that look? I decided I'm gonna make Robin John one of my all-time favorite soups, lentil vegetable soup. It's a really rich, hearty soup with lots of chunky vegetables. First thing you need is 4 cups of chopped onions. That's about 3 large onions. Okay, next thing is leeks. So onions and leeks are milder than onions. About 4 cups of leeks, right into the pot. Next thing is garlic. 3 cloves of garlic, just roughly chopped. Okay, that's about 1 tablespoon of garlic. right into the pot. Now lots of seasonings. 1 tablespoon of salt. I use kosher salt. Half a tablespoon, which is 1.5 teaspoons of pepper. And lots of flavor with fresh thyme. About a tablespoon. Just run your finger down the stem, then the leaves come off. They're tiny, so there's really no need to chop them. Love the smell of fresh thyme, but it's strong. Just about a tablespoon. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of cumin. Cumin's used in a lot of ethnic cooking, Middle Eastern, Indian. It's not something I use often, but in the lentil soup, it really sort of brings out that earthy flavor of the lentils, which is great. Give it a big stir, and just cook that over medium heat for about 20 minutes until the leeks and the onions are just beautiful and tender and not browned. It's gonna make one big pot of soup. Next is lentils. Can't make lentil soup without lentils. I like to use the French green lentils. You can find them in specialty food stores. I just think they have better texture. So I need 2 cups of lentils. Just cover them with boiling water and let them soak for about 15 minutes, and then they'll cook faster in the soup. Okay, everything into the pot. 3 cups of carrots. 3 cups of celery. This is one big chunky pot of soup. I'm just going to cook that at medium heat for about 10 minutes until the vegetables start to become tender. 3 quarts of chicken stock. This makes a lot of soup. If you want to make this vegetarian, you can always use vegetable stock, but I really like the depth of flavor that comes from chicken stock. 1/4 cup of tomato paste. I actually love these tubes. It's a great way to store it in the fridge, what's left over. Just squeeze it in. Give it a big stir. And next, the lentils. I'm just going to drain the lentils. They're softened now from being in the boiling water. And they're going to go right in. French lentils are really firmer than regular lentils, just have a much better flavor and better texture. This is really the most flavorful lentil soup. The guys are going to love it. Bring it to a boil, and then lower the heat and simmer it for about an hour, uncovered, so it gets really thick and absolutely delicious. This is actually quite a lunch. I'm going to make my Cape Cod chopped salad. It's going to be delicious. Dried cranberries make it Cape Cod. I love all the big, bold flavors of the things from the farm. Of course, you can buy arugula at the grocery store. You need about 8 ounces for this salad. I actually love composed salads like this because you can really throw anything in that you like. I always go into the pantry and go, that would be good in this. That's how this salad came about. So the arugula, I just cut it in pieces. 1/2 cup of dried cranberries. Just toss them all in. And I've toasted some walnuts. It's about 1/2 cup of toasted walnuts. I toast them because when they're crisp, they really have that sort of walnut flavor. Just a big rough chop right on top. I'm going to assemble all the pieces and then make a vinaigrette. Next, an apple. Granny Smith apple from my farm box. I'm just going to peel it and chop it. Granny Smith apple's great because it's really tart, but if you have another apple, you can use really any apple you like. Just get a big chop. I don't like things too finely diced. I really want to just know they're there. Look how gorgeous that is. Okay, next is blue cheese. I'm going to use Roquefort because I love it. I need about 6 ounces of crumbled blue cheese. Roquefort is French sheep's milk cheese. So just give it a chop and then crumble it a little bit. What a great combination is it? Sweet and piquant and peppery. It's got everything going for it in this salad. So for the vinaigrette, I want a really fresh flavor. So because of the apples in the salad, I'm going to use apple cider vinegar, about 3 tablespoons. Okay, then I need 2.5 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. I want this to have lots of flavor. 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, about a teaspoon of grated orange zest, And if you do it right into the bowl, you get all of the oils into the salad dressing. Okay, and then orange juice. Okay, I'm just gonna approximate. This is the kind of salad dressing you just want to taste and make sure it's right. Fantastic. Okay, lots of salt and pepper. Vinaigrette has to be really highly seasoned, because remember, it's just going to coat the lettuce. Give it a whisk, and then 2/3 of a cup of olive oil. The mustard actually acts as an emulsifier, so if you pour it in really slowly, it'll emulsify the dressing. Okay, that should do it. Just taste it, make sure it's right. It's great. Really taste the maple syrup. You can taste the mustard and the apple and orange. Just pour it right over. Just enough to moisten it, but not soak it. Give it a big toss, and then I have one more thing to put in, something salty and crunchy. A little bacon that I roasted at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. That's the last thing I put in. When I'm testing recipes, this is usually just about the time that my assistant barber shows up. It's lunchtime. I think this is going to be really good. Just make sure it's good. Peppery arugula. Vinaigrette's really good. It's sort of sweet and tart. This is definitely one of my favorite salads. I thought I'd make cream of wild mushroom soup to start, because I can make the whole thing in advance and then just heat it up before dinner. I'm starting with 5 ounces of each of 3 mushrooms: portobello, cremini, and shiitake. If you can't find all 3, just pick one. Okay, nice clean mushrooms. So the next step is to separate the mushroom stems from the caps. That one's just caps. Take off the stems. I love the nutty, sort of meaty flavor of the wild mushrooms. I'm gonna chop the stems, just a rough chop, because it's all gonna get cooked together. And then for more flavor, I'm gonna chop a carrot. Any kind of vegetables you have that will flavor the stock, it's a great way to use them up. Okay, so now I'm gonna heat the pan. A tablespoon of olive oil, tablespoon of butter. In go the onions, carrots, and the mushroom stems. These are just going to cook for about 10 to 15 minutes until they get really nicely caramelized. And okay, big sprig of thyme right in. Just going to let that cook. I'm going to get the rest of the soup ready. So the first thing I'm going to use is a leek. I know you've seen it at the grocery store, but people don't use it so much here. So you need some butter and oil again, just so that you get the best flavor of the butter and the best burning temperatures of the oil. Leeks go into the pan, and those are going to saute for about 15 to 20 minutes until they have great flavor. In the meantime, I'm going to pour some water into the stock. I need 6 cups of water. So it's just going to simmer away for about 30 minutes until it gets a really rich mushroom stock. And then later, I'm going to add it to the soup. Okay, so the next thing I want to do for the soup is cut up the mushroom caps, like 1/4 half-inch slices. Okay, that's it for the mushrooms. I'm just going to go into the pan with the leeks and the butter. Just give them a stir. And those are going to cook for about 10 minutes until all the moisture from the mushrooms gets out into the soup. Okay, now I'm going to strain the stock. I want to get every last bit. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to add a little flour to these mushrooms. It's amazing how much they've cooked down. So I need 1/4 cup of flour. What this is going to do is thicken the soup. Just add it right to the mushrooms. Cook it for a minute. Perfect. Now I need a cup of dry white wine, whatever you have in the refrigerator. Oh, that smells great. Okay, some fresh thyme leaves, about a teaspoon. Give it a stir. And now I'm gonna add the stock. Look how gorgeous that is, just from the stems. Okay, last ingredients. So 1 cup of cream. And then a cup of half and half. And half a cup of fresh parsley. Give it a stir. So I'm gonna chill this, and then I'm gonna heat it up just before dinner.
This is fantastic.
Thank you.
Actually, this is the best soup I've ever had.
It is delicious.